Alright, just a quick follow-up, because I never actually ranked movies in the year that A Quiet Place Part 1 came out, but that was actually my favorite movie of that year. So when I found out A Quiet Place Part 2 happened, oh yeah, I was hyped, because it was just so good. Just wanted to give that background knowledge going into this, so I was nervous but excited for a Part 2. Alright guys, gals, and everything in between, I'm here today to review for you A Quiet Place Part 2. So A Quiet Place Part 2 stars Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, and the children, I don't know the names of, from the first one. And it follows immediately after the events of A Quiet Place Part 1. I mean, we're talking seconds afterwards, if not the exact frame that happens in the last movie. I have to say, John Krasinski returns to direct in this film, and my god, he is good. There's the way he composes a scene, you just feel like you're in the action with them, and the world feels so just right for the tone. So John Krasinski does an amazing job directing, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he does outside of A Quiet Place as well, because if this is any indicator, then man, that dude is going to be a powerhouse director. He already is, because A Quiet Place Part 1 is a masterpiece in my opinion. It was everything I wanted it to be, which is actually, I don't necessarily see it as a sequel. I see it as the second half of the same movie. It's just A Quiet Place. This just happens to be the next part of it, as opposed to a sequel where it's like, oh, it's kind of a different movie. No, this legitimately feels like the exact same movie, and I liked it as much as the first one, which is very rare, honestly. This is one of the best sequels I've seen in a long time. Cillian Murphy takes up the role as the lead protagonist in this film. He's got to help Emily Blunt's character as well as the children and really step up and help them get where they need to be. And Cillian Murphy does an incredible job in this film. You really buy his character as this really damaged, heartbroken person, and you see how the effects of this invasion really are affecting people, because it was isolated to the family in the first one, and now you're seeing kind of the rest of the world, and the way it opens it up, you really feel like this world's lived in, and it's a whole lot bigger of a scope, but it's still told in that intimate scale, if that makes sense. And so, yes, absolutely, Cillian Murphy killed it. So did Emily Blunt. Actually, the whole cast killed it. They all have at least one badass moment where you're like, hell yes! Hell yes! And that's what I wanted in this movie, and oh, it was so intense. So intense. I actually went with my mom to watch this movie, and there was a scene that, I kid you not, my mom jumped enough that the popcorn started to go airborne from her container, and she crushed the popcorn container. And we both shot up in the air. Another thing that I really appreciated about this film is that they actually show partially the beginning of the invasion. I really loved that scene because, A, John Krasinski got to come back, which is not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, and you really see how the world kind of reacted to this invasion, and I loved every second of that. I know they announced A Quiet Place Part 3, and I wouldn't mind if they actually did more flashbacks to kind of show how the world handled the alien invasion. The aliens are also creepy as hell. I actually don't have any negatives really to say about this film. There was one plot point towards the third act that you could predict it to a T. That got a little predictable, but it wasn't a massive sin on the movie. But when that's the worst thing you can say about a film, that's not a bad thing. Every second of this was intense. There were so many spots that felt like it would be a third act in another movie. And no, it was just A Quiet Place is that intense. Guys, gals, and everything in between, there's not much else to say about this film. I absolutely loved it, beginning to end. A Quiet Place Part 2 is absolutely a future classic. Alright, guys, gals, and everything in between, sorry I got this review up late to you. Again, I will do a life update video soon. I got a lot coming for you that's going to be some cool, good news. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I got plenty more videos coming to you. Love you guys.